It's the Brian and Kendra Show with Brian Cook and Kendra Cox of Keller Williams Realty Elite.
I am Kendra Cox.
I'm Brian Cook.
Between the two of us, we have over 30 years of experience.
Sharing real estate tips and advice. Right here on Classic Hits 1073.
Hey, we are back. And it's the Brian and Kendra Show. We're talking about real estate. Today we're going to talk about when is the right time to purchase your first home.
Today.
Well, it's kind of late in the day.
Oh.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
January 6th, 2021.
Okay.
So everybody line up at the door.
Today is January 6th, 2022.
So we'll wait. That was a year ago, so you missed it. So let's
Sounds
do
like you're
January
late.
7th.
Let's get going.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So is there really a right age to buy a home, though?
You know, according to the National Association of Realtors, the median date, the median is the middle number.
Oh, here we go.
32.
Math again.
So exactly the average, but the median number. So I didn't like those.
Okay. So 32. I don't know. Branson, I'm going to give you a mic. I'm going to make you talk to us.
That's right.
All right. So here's the deal. I want to talk a little. I don't think that our median age of first-time homebuyers is in their 30s. Do you?
Right. I can't imagine the first-time homebuyer being 32. There's not very many.
So I think that has to do a lot with demographics, though.
Right.
Because
Like
Woodward, Oklahoma is
you
different.
can't afford. Like 32, you're just now moving. I mean, you're moving away from home because you can't afford to live without being at home.
But not just that. I think it's different than that. I just think you're young, so you. I'm not young. You're young, Branson. So
I don't feel it.
But I think part of this is just different because, like a million years ago, whenever I got married at 19. How old were you?
20.
How old were you when you got married, Branson?
21.
Oh, you were pretty young. I've noticed that outside of our sweet little area, kids do not get married so young, and I think that that's part of it. And I recognize too that maybe not everyone is even getting married, and so I don't mean to like bring in that whole weird discussion, but I think that that's kind of important. I feel like young adults are taking longer to start out those kinds of things. Like they're making sure they get their college under their belt, make sure they are comfortable and have their job and their career moving. And see, that's another difference, like have their career going, not just like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think that it's a little bit different in other areas than it is here. So I think part of that median number, that demographic, I think it's because we're different. What do you think?
I think so, definitely.
So when did you buy your first house?
Let's see. Golly, I don't know how to play this game. I must have been 21 or 22.
I was in college, 1999. So I was.
Yeah, that's the same year that my ex-husband and I bought our first house.
So yeah, when Ashton was born at our new house, not at our new house, but we brought her home from the hospital at our house.
I just about lost it. Carrie Ann is tough.
She's 21. So 21 years ago, we had purchased our first house. Actually, that was our second house. Because our first house, I bought it. We were going to flip it because we lived in an apartment. And so we bought a house to flip. And then my brother got married. He needed somewhere to live. So he moved into it. We went and bought another house because we thought, hey, this is cool. So we bought a house. When did you buy your first house?
I closed 1 month before I got married, so I was 21.
21.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's my daughter's 20. How old's your daughter?
Anya, she's 21.
She bought her first house.
Mm-hmm. So she was 21 and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that seemed so stinking young to me. I don't guess I even realized that I was about that young as well. Ours was also 1999 because my son was born January 99 and we closed, I think, April 99.
That's about when we bought ours.
Something like that. So, yeah, but man, I really kind of panicked, and everybody that's around me knows that when Anya told me she was ready to start looking for a home, I was like, no, you're not. No, you're not. And it wasn't that I wasn't telling her she wasn't ready. But I had some grave concerns.
Right. Well, my niece is 18, and we went and looked at houses.
She's like 18 going on 30.
Right.
She's a different cat.
Yeah.
She
First
reminds
child,
me of
kind
me.
So, yeah, we went and looked at new houses, and we went and looked at houses from Carmen to Alva the other day just to kind of get an idea that she's going to probably go to college at Alva next year. And so we looked at rentals. We looked at possibilities of houses. And so she's only 18. But it comes back to making sense. Like, I think I can buy her a house and she can live there 4 years. And and we can sell it and get our money back and it not cost her to live there.
Right.
That's kind of why I'm thinking that. Now my daughter's moved to Savannah, and I don't know how you make money moving to Savannah without, Dad being able to bounce over there and fix the faucet.
There's something real about that. I mean, you and I have this discussion. I've had to learn a lot of new tricks since I've been alone. And I switched out my bathroom faucet. I don't want to ever do that again.
Nope.
Like, it took me all flipping day. And then whenever the sink broke, I said, I need help. And so our handyman did it. And I'm like, it took him less than an hour, literally start to finish, out my door, close my garage. And I'm like, for real, y'all? I worked hard.
Yeah.
I was so darn proud of myself.
Yeah. And things just get expensive. We had somebody, a closing deal that had to happen pretty quick, and we got a plumber out to fix the faucet. It was $385 or something.
Right.
And I thought, it's a $25 piece. I think I could have done it in an hour.
Isn't that crazy?
Obviously, it probably took more than that.
Evidently.
But there was something more to it, but I thought, man, it gets way expensive if you have to hire,
Yes.
hire a professional plumber.
Yes, it does.
On some of that stuff that's not super complicated.
Right. So definitely some things to consider. But so the real answer there is there's not a real age that says, hey, you're ready. But really more of just where you are. Do you have you started your career? Do you have the steady job? Do you have, what else? And because
Credit.
income. Credit. So that's next, right?
Probably.
Oh, you haven't, I haven't read this.
Yeah.
You handed it to me. I thought you were ready.
No.
I thought you were leading today and you're not. It's still my job.
Yes.
Okay. So
The next one, it shows the age ranges there of some of the people, age range, like 35 to 40 people, home ownership rate, 35 to 44 age people, 61% own their house. Like when you get to 65, look at that, 80% of their people own their own home.
Interesting.
Which realistically, like there is a wealth, that's next. It's like I read it. Building wealth is the next reason you need to own a house. So owning your home and building equity, like when you get to 65, if you're still making payments, you need to be figuring out how to get to a retirement age where you're not having to make a payment. You're going to have to pay taxes and insurance forever. But so a 30-year mortgage, you need to make sure you're in the thing by 35. So real estate does appreciate most of the time. Obviously, there's ups and downs in the market. Some markets go up, some go down. Right now, it seems like everything in the world is just pacing upwards at an astonishing rate. So Woodward has just been steady. So we did I need to go back and do my actual physical numbers to see kind of how we've done over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. But we sold some houses the other day that in 2013 built brand new. We sold it for the same price we did in 2013.
We did that?
Yeah. So the value of some of these homes is just hovering.
But I think what's terrifying to me, because again, so those are new homes. I think that's a totally different ballgame. Because some of those 2013 homes would sell higher today than they sold back then.
Absolutely. Yep.
Unfortunately, an older home, or I don't want to say for Woodward, like a 1980s home was new forever and ever and ever.
Yep.
Today, there's a good possibility that your 80s home that you bought in 2013 may not sell for what you bought it for.
Right.
And it's not that our market is depressed. It's just that we were so elevated then.
Yep.
We really just haven't consistently caught up in all of the different areas.
The tornado messed up our inventory ratio.
It did. It really did.
And the people had to have homes, and they just bought whatever was ready in the market.
It was nuts.
did jump.
Absolutely crazy. All right. So, there was something that I saw, and now I've absolutely lost it. One of the things, though, whenever we were talking a minute ago about with this whole age thing, it's not just age, but whether or not one of the things that kept me from helping my daughter to move more quickly on the purchase of her own home was whether or not she was really ready. Right. Like one of the things that we think is so important, and Mike with On Point Land Survey said this whenever he was on with me one day, or I don't know if it was whenever he was pinch hitting for you, or if you were here, but do you remember he said that the most important thing that he found as a home buyer was don't rush.
Right.
So if you think it's about time for you to get started on your home search, don't rush. If you've got a place you're comfortable, then go ahead and wait until you find what you want.
Right. Be
Woodward
patient.
market is difficult. And what's your little phrase? I hate it so much.
Do I have to say it on the radio?
Yeah, you always say it. Buy the home you hate the least.
That's what if people rush to Woodward and have to be here, unfortunately, we hear it a lot that they buy the house they hate the least.
So we don't like that.
We don't like it.
We
love it
at
when
all.
somebody's like, so we've got some people moving here from eastern Oklahoma, and they're like, they fell in love with the house. They fell in love with it.
It's a lovely home.
And it's been it's been a joy dealing with somebody that loves the home they're buying. And we had several last year that happened that way.
We did. We had a lot of fun last year with that. But the important part of that, the whole point is if you have a chance to take your home purchase slow, then take it slow.
Mm-hmm.
Don't rush into something so that you don't regret it later. Did you feel like you were rushed whenever you bought yours?
Extremely rushed. We bought it in an auction.
Right.
So that was one. And then they told
just
us
blows
we
my
have to
mind.
close within 30 days. And so I was kind of panicking, but it all worked out.
But in your purchase, like as you were shopping, did you feel rushed when you were shopping? Did you feel like, oh my gosh, there's nothing that I like and I have to choose something and I have to choose it today? Did you feel that way, or did you feel like, oh, there's lots of options? And did you have 3 favorites, or did you have one that
We had
was
just
enough?
the one that stood out and the one that we got.
Awesome. See, that's the thing. I feel like there should be 2 or 3. Like we always like pros and cons lists, but I think, unfortunately, for a lot of our buyers, there's really not a pros and cons list. It's like, what's the least con? Like,
Right.
It's tough. So don't rush. If you can avoid rushing, don't rush. All right, what else you got, boss?
So, logistics, of course. So it's like my daughter buying a house in Savannah. It's going to be a little bit complicated. She's very independent. I think she can handle a lot of that on her own. I'm not sure who in the right mind would loan a 21-year-old moving to Savannah money to buy a house from college to an employment, because it seems like a high risk loan to me. Like, she's my daughter and I know she'll make it work, but
Right.
if I'm looking at it on paper, it seems very complicated. Like, hey, this girl's moving to Savannah. She just has a degree. Doesn't even know what kind of job she really is going to even have when she gets there. As soon as she gets a pay stub, we're going to give her a check. We're going to give her a house. So I think logistics is a big deal. Sometimes it's better to rent till you figure out the market, make sure you like the area.
Right.
I'm encouraging her to rent there for a year. But rent is like $1,600 a month.
Wow.
And so
Ouch.
it stresses her out. But I said, man, we could lose a lot more than $1,600 a month if you buy the wrong
Absolutely.
house. So
Absolutely. Talking about when is the right time to purchase your first home. And so one of the things that's really important was the financial strength. But it's more than just, do I have good credit? It's more than just, do I have a steady income? It's more than just, can I afford my payment? So there's a lot of different facets. Go.
right. So just imagine moving to, you're taking on a job in another town. You don't know if you're going to love the job, how long you're going to be there. And if you can imagine, most places have to hire an agent to sell their home. And so that's a 6%.
I mean,
you
a savvy
should.
seller wants to.
Right. So that's a 6% right off the top expense generally. I can't talk about commission splits, but
It's roughly 7%. In Oklahoma, it's roughly 7%
Is
to
what we're
sell
seeing.
your home
yeah.
is what we see for sellers.
And so if you buy a home and you're only there less than a year, then your house needs to appreciate over 6%. And until this last couple of years, it's been about a 2.5 to 3.5% appreciation rate through most common markets. But like we're saying here in Woodward, we have one we're working on right now that sold for $165,000 when he bought it in 2013 or 14, and we have an offer of less than that now, and he's owned it. And he's had to rent it off and on, and it's been vacant off and on, and he's had to make payments whether somebody's in it or not. So there again can be, so when we come back to financial strength, you need to make sure you can afford that house if you have to move. Can you afford the repairs on that house? Can you afford to leave it vacant and move to another town and pay rent somewhere else while this one sells? So there's a lot of hoops. And so make sure you have, an agent in your corner helping you walk through that stuff. Mom and dad, somebody that's going to kind of walk you through the finances of it all. We just don't want your home to be a noose around your neck.
Absolutely.
So, Yeah, if you have some questions about that, don't hesitate to give us a call. My number is 580-334-2303.